So first, I want to make sure your table of contents is up to date. I know your page numbers might be a little different, but all of these titles should be in here. And you should make sure that everything's glued into where it's supposed to go. Our new one today is evaluating expressions with substitution. Now, if that's tough to read because it's written small, it'll be much clearer on the next page. That was a lot of words to squeeze into that tiny spot. All right, so pause the video if you need to see that. I'm moving on to page 7. Here we go. So our notes today should look like this, where you have your page number at the top. It could be right or left, depending on which page you're on. But our title is Evaluating Expressions with Substitution. So our vocabulary word today is substitution. It's an important vocabulary word, so I'm going to put a star with it. So you'll start to notice as we go through which ones are vocabulary words with the star and the underline. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. So what substitution is, it's like when you've had a substitute teacher. The teacher can't make it that day, so some other adult substitutes in for them as a substitute teacher. They fill in to that position and are the teacher for the day. So substitution is when you replace something. And in math class, we're going to be replacing a variable with a given number and evaluate. At this point, evaluate is like simplify. So we can do all the mathematical operations that we can do. Evaluate is for expressions. The other word we can use to kind of think about this is like solving, but we can only use the word solve for equations when there's an equal sign. A variable, now it's been a while since we've done that one. A variable is a letter that represents some unknown quantity. So let's look at our first one. We'll do a simple example 1 here. So we have example 1. EX, example 1. All right, let's say we have 7S. Now this is one of those lessons where we have to watch our handwriting. If your S looks like a 5, you need to fix it. So really be careful about how we write numbers and letters because we're going to be using them a lot together. Now we have a number right next to a variable. And then we're going to, when S equals -3. So we're going to substitute in our variable or our number for the variable, and then we're going to evaluate. Now, when we use substitution, we need to be using parentheses. Why? Great question. If we just write 7 and then instead of S we put -3, that looks like 7 minus 3. That's wrong. When we have a number right next to a variable, that shows multiplication. So when we start to do this with more variables, we need to make sure we're putting in those parentheses to hold that number. So especially when we have multiplication there. That way we don't get it wrong and put 4. No, we're multiplying. 7 times 3 is 21, and they're different signs, so we get a -21. Not so bad. Not so bad. All right, here we go. Example 2. So this one, we're going to make it a little bit more complicated here. We're going to have 8 plus p squared all over 2. Now remember, that is a fraction technically. It's also a division sign. And since it's a grouping symbol, we need to simplify our numerator and our denominator first. When p equals -4. So we're going to substitute that in for p and then evaluate. So our 8 stays 8. Plus sign is still a plus sign. Since we have our variable p, we're going to substitute in a -4. We're going to open up a set of parentheses, put in that -4 for the p. Don't forget that squared, and it's all over 2. All right, from here, we start with our numerator to simplify, since our denominator is simplified already. In that numerator, we go order of operations, which is our parentheses, but within these parentheses is just a -4. So we can move right along to our exponents. That whole base is squared. So it'd be a -4 times -4. Keep in mind, p is squared. So the entire -4 is squared. So when we have a -4 times -4, we get a positive 16. Now, if that looks a little weird, I'm going to do a little math to the side here. I'm going to do a little math to the side just to think about. So if we just have this -4 squared, the entire -4 is squared, so that would be -4. Let's use parentheses times -4. Ran out of room here. Which gives us a positive 16. That is a very different statement from -4 squared. Since there's no parentheses around it, this time only the 4 is squared, the negative is not. So this would be like saying -4 times 4. So 4 times 4 is 16, but that negative is outside. So really be careful of your parentheses. What is squared? Since the entire value of p is squared, the entire -4 is squared. All right, we're watching out for that. From here, we continue on, and I'm going to continue horizontally here. So we have 8 plus 16 gives us 24 over 2. And from there, it's a fraction, but we can also just divide. 24 divided by 2 is 12. There's our answer. Ooh, I didn't box this one. Woo. All right, final one. Here we go. Final example, example 3. We have 3 plus x, and the entire quantity of 3 plus x is cubed, minus 2y, all over 48. Now, if you want to try this one on your own, we have when x is equal to -1 and y is equal to 15. You can pause the video, try it, and then check to see how you did. That's fine. All right, here we go. So we have, I like to go in order when there's a lot going on. I just take it piece by piece. I have a parenthesis, I write a parenthesis. I have a 3, I write a 3. I have a plus sign, I write a plus sign. Now we have an x here, so I'm going to open up another set of parentheses and plug in what x is equal to. And we know that x is equal to -1, so we put the -1 in there, close it. Now be careful, we have our parentheses here, and then don't forget this parenthesis also has a closed side of it to the right. You can bring those up to brackets if you would like. I'm just going to go with double parentheses at this point. Don't forget our cubed minus 2. Y, we don't put our y, we open up a set of parentheses and we substitute in 15 for y. All over 48. Now we've done the substitution, now we're going to evaluate. And we can use order of operations to evaluate. So we start with parentheses. Now we have 2 sets, well, 3 sets, I guess. But within these parentheses is just a 15. That's done. Within these parentheses is just a -1. So we're looking at these parentheses right here. So in here we have a 3 plus a -1, which is the same as saying 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. And that is cubed minus our 2 times 15 all over 48. Woo! Now again, we have these parentheses here, but they're just holding numbers. So we can move right along to our exponents cubed. So remember, when that 2 is cubed, it's not 2 times 3. No. We have 3 2's. So that would be the same as 2 times 2 times 2. Be careful. Watch out for that. So we have 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, minus 2 times 15, close it, all over 48. All right, I've run out of room, so the next one I'm going to go be down here. That way you see where I'm going. I'm going to draw an arrow for now. All right, from here, are we going to subtract, multiply, or divide first? Now, some of you are like, divide, divide. Well, be careful. Remember, they're grouping symbols at this point, that division bar. So we have to simplify our numerator. And in our numerator, multiplication is our next option. Try to push yourselves to see that as a negative 2 times 15. Negative 2 times 15. That would give us a negative 30. Bring down our 8. All over 48. All right, from there we simplify our numerator with our subtraction. 8 minus 30 gives us a negative 22. Now you could divide to get a decimal. True. But we can also leave it as a fraction and just simplify. They're both even, which means they can both divide by 2. So we can divide this by 2 and this by 2. Negative 22 divided by 2 gives us a negative 11. 48 divided by 2 is 12. So sorry, that would be divided by 4. Let me fix that. Would be 24. From there, 11 is prime. 24 can't divide by 11, so we can leave our fraction as is, negative 11/24. All right, those are our notes. 3 examples, new vocabulary. Have a wonderful day.